Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the presentation on Equatio. My name is Matt Brown. I'm here with Texthelp, and Texthelp is the makers of Equatio, Read and Write, and a variety of different other products. All right. So again, my name is Matt Brown. I am the Territory Sales Director here at Texthelp. Here's my contact information. So if anyone has any questions after the webinar, feel free to shoot me an email, or you can also drop a question in the chat box, and I'll be there live as well. So any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to help. So Texthelp, who is Texthelp? Texthelp is a digital literacy and now STEM company. Many of you are probably familiar with Read and Write, which helps students with reading and writing, and also accessibility. Today, we will be discussing one of our newish kind of programs called Equatio, which is a STEM product. And I say newish because it's about 2 years old now, but we've been making a lot of improvements throughout the past, 6 months or so for higher ed. Our offices are based in Northern Ireland and also in Woburn, Massachusetts, which is located right outside of Boston, and it's also where I am located. So I'm located in Woburn, Mass. Texthelp has been around for about 23 years now. Our first program was Read and Write, and we built a lot of different improvements, I guess, in versions to Read and Write, and we will be doing the same thing with Equatio as well. Lastly, we are a Google, Microsoft, and Apple partner. The majority of K through 12 schools use Google, and we work great as an extension because it's basically built right into the browser. But we also have an install-based version that works in Microsoft Word for Macs and PCs. Interestingly enough, Microsoft will also be releasing pretty much a redesign of the Edge browser, and I'm not sure if they're going to stay with the name Edge or if they're going to rebrand it as well, but it will be built off the Chromium platform. So this could potentially mean Office 365 schools, universities, and colleges, which I know the majority of higher ed institutions are Office 365, could essentially use the extensions from Google in Edge and also have more extensions available in Edge right now. So it would basically be the same working environment, but we'll, I guess, find out more about that when Microsoft releases some more updates and gives us some more information. I believe it's scheduled for about around next school year. So today, what we'll be doing today. Today, I'll be giving an overview of Equatio and its key features. We will also be discussing how Equatio can help different departments. And it's usually brought up by disability services, but because Equatio has many different facets, it can mean something different to different departments, to other departments. We'll also discuss our different licensing options. Read and Write Unlimited licenses receive a 25% discount in Equatio domain licenses, so I'll show that at the end. And lastly, feel free to type any questions. I believe I mentioned this before, but feel free to type any questions and I can help answer during the webinar in the chat box. So let's get started. Equatio. So just to give you a brief background on how Equatio started, it all started with this guy right here, John McGowan. And John was a high school math teacher for about 15 years and wanted an easier way to create math digitally. He had students in his classroom that would come into the class all excited to use their new laptops, and whenever they get to the math class, they always had to shut the computers, and you could just see their faces kind of deflate because they were so enthusiastic to use it. So what John wanted to do is he wanted to provide an easy way for students to be able to work digitally with math, make it create math, consume math, etc. So he ended up developing a Google Chrome add-on called Gmath, and Gmath had about 11 million users. Fast forward to a couple of years, Texthelp ended up bringing John on the team, and we turned Gmath into Equatio. And Equatio works as a Google Chrome extension, which is better than having an add-on because it has more functionality and it can work in much more places. Then we also created an install-based version, so you can use it in Microsoft Word, and it has a lot of functionality there as well. So from what we've learned in the past couple of months from either webinars, conferences, AT conferences, higher ed conferences, and that's pretty much where a lot of our development is coming from, is higher ed for the install-based version. We've kind of seen the 5 C's in math, and the first one being conversion. So why is this important for these different departments? Conversion for disability services. So it's something that's pretty much required by law for students. And the problem is so disability services usually has to take these documents that students bring them or from the professors or whatnot, and basically convert them into an accessible format for the students, whether it's alt text or whatever it may be. And to do what we've heard is scanning a textbook, a full math textbook, can cost upwards of $5,000. I know that might be different in Canada, but it does create a lot of time and effort to convert them if you're doing it yourselves. And I'm sure that they would have to license them out if you wanted to make it accessible. So what we try to do is we provide an easy way for you to convert that text, and we're trying to do it in many different ways through MathML, LaTeX, or screenshot reader, etc. So that's one facet of the 5 C's. The next one is creation, and that's something for instructional design people. So maybe professors who are creating the content, you want to kind of make sure that it's accessible, and if it's not, then you go back to the conversion. You would have to convert it. But if the math is already created in an accessible format, then you don't have to convert it. So creation, that's another facet. And the next, number 3 and number 4, the consumption and collaboration are for the students. So the students are going to consume that information that's created or converted by instructional design or the disability services. And the collaboration piece is something that for Office 365 boards, or I should say universities or colleges, it's not as important right now just because Equatio works with an install-based version of Word. We will be creating a lot, and the collaboration piece comes from Office 365, but we will be adding some more functionality within Office 365 soon. But right now it's more, that's not a big part of it unless you're a Google district and can use Google Docs, etc. So the last piece is the compliance piece, and that's for math departments. And more what we're hearing is more and more colleges and universities are adopting curriculum and asking beforehand and making sure if it's accessible. So we've received some compliance checklists that people have created, or universities and colleges have created, to make sure that this content fits under, is it accessible? Can it be read by screen readers, etc. So that's something that some colleges and universities are proactively doing. Some are not, but it is something that people are considering. So easily read any math content. So within Equatio, built in Equatio, we have a screenshot reader that looks specifically for math. So it's kind of like how our screenshot reader works in Read and Write, but specifically for math. Students can use the screenshot reader to have math read aloud as many times as they would like, and also edit the math in our equation editor to put in the Word document or a Google document. Students who benefit from having this type of, having like an equation read aloud and can replay it as many times as they would like, which they might not ask a human reader to continually read something aloud. Here in Equatio, there's no embarrassing factor, so they can press play as many times as they would like. But this also helps the disability services who have to convert the math into accessible math. So if you wanted to take a screenshot of math and you might not know how to form that problem or read it out loud or whatever it may be, you can simply use a screenshot reader and convert it and put it into a document if you would like, and it's then accessible. Like I mentioned before, easily convert math equations to MathML. And this is one thing that we added recently from feedback from colleges and universities, that the function to add that MathML piece was huge because screen readers such as JAWS or NDVA could read MathML out loud. So what we did was we added an option in our screenshot reader to copy the MathML so you can put it into Word and then the screen readers can then read it out loud. Or you could edit it in MathML. But essentially, you can also use our equation and put it in there without doing the MathML and input it as an equatio equation. And when you do that, it has the alt text behind it, and you can read it out loud as well. Easily create math and STEM content. So we provide multiple different ways, whether it's our equation editor, also known as like prediction, handwriting recognition, speech input, and all these other different tools to make it easy for students to input math digitally, and easy for teachers or faculty to input math digitally or convert math digitally. So we just want to provide multiple different ways and let the students choose the way that they prefer. And students demonstrate mastery in multiple different ways. So whether it's using those multiple different ways to put in math, or making a visual for the math, or making a graph of the math to see how the lines change, or hearing the math out loud, multiple different things that we provide are helping students to comprehend that math and really master that math. So this is something that's really important, and specifically, we know what the benefits of having a text-to-speech solution is for comprehension in the dual color highlighting specifically, but comprehension, but hearing math problems read aloud and cementing that learning is a great benefit as well. All right, so this last slide I'm going to show before I get into the demonstration is Equatio works on a PC, Mac, Chromebook. So we have our installable versions, Equatio for PC, Equatio, and Equatio for Mac. So the Equatio for PC works on a PC, Equatio for Mac works on Mac, and then we also have Equatio for Google, which works on a PC, Mac, and a Chromebook. And then lastly, we have the mobile companion app, I'd like to say, because it does have to work within the full version as well. So you have to have a PC, Mac, or Chromebook open, and then you can also use the mobile capability as well with the full version. So let's get right into the demonstration. I'm going to pause for a couple seconds just to see if anyone has any questions. And I'm going to set up, while I pause, I'll set up the Equatio in my read and write toolbar. Alrighty. So the Equatio toolbar looks like this down here. This is the icon I chose to open it with, or this is how I open the icon, the Equatio toolbar, and you can see that just goes right there at the bottom of my screen. Read and write goes to the top of my screen up here, and you can also see I have a Word document open right here, a blank Word document. So the first thing I always like to do is when I first download Read and Write, or someone first downloads Read and Write, I always want them to go into this options menu right here. So in this options menu, I have my math options right here. So if I want my math font size regular, or if I want it extra large, I usually try to put it as extra large. And the reason why I do that is it's a lot easier to make an image. When you insert an image, like our equations are inserted into a Word document, it's a lot easier to make them smaller than it is to make them bigger. Because if you make them bigger, it usually pixelates the image a little bit. But if you insert it as a large image and then make it smaller, it doesn't really pixelate. We're also localized in French and Spanish. I believe the one thing that we don't have in the French localization yet is the alt text for French. That's something that's coming soon. We just added it to our Google version, so that will be coming shortly, hopefully by the beginning of next school year. And then also here, I always like to have people toggle on the chemistry and the formulas. So these are usually toggled off when you first install Equatio. So I always like to toggle them on. The formulas would be like if I type in QU, it will predict the quadratic formula for me, or chemistry, like chemistry compounds, so chemical compounds, I should say. Toolbar options. So this is something we recently added, was the ability to turn on and off certain features. If I wanted to turn off prediction, I simply click right there and I can turn it off. And same with all these other tools right here. Desktop options. So this is one option, and this is something that professors might like, is the insert our math as a word equation. So if you're in Word, what we do is we insert the math as an image. Now we added this functionality because it's kind of like a more professional look. Some professors might prefer this more. So what you can do is you can insert the math and we'll go right into Word as a word equation. It's a little bit more professional looking, but you won't have, if they do that, you don't have that alt text behind it. Good news is you can use a screenshot reader, screenshot it, or a student could screenshot it and put it right into the equation and it's then accessible. So this is one way. If the professors want to do it, they could do it this way. It might be easier for them. All right, so I'm going to X out of here. One more thing I want to point out in the options is the send feedback. So if anyone has any feedback that they would like us to, like a tool or something that they would like to do differently, go to send feedback and provide any feedback that you would like. We usually try to answer within 24 to 48 hours. Might take a little bit longer, but we always try to get back to people and we take the request seriously. And since this is still a new product, about 2 years, we're continually developing, continually adding new things, and your feedback is only going to help. So that's the gist of the options. Now down here we have our toolbar. We have our prediction, or our equation editor, which does the prediction. We have our LaTeX, which I don't want anyone to have to learn how to use, but if you already know how to use it and you like to use it, great. That's just an option. Handwriting recognition. So basically, if you have a touchscreen device, you can handwrite on with your finger or a stylus, and we will basically convert that math. And then lastly, or one of the other options, is the speech input. So you can say the math and we'll render it into actual math. And then our graph editor. So our graph editor is powered by Desmos. So it's basically a graphing calculator type deal, a digital graphing calculator. Our mobile capability is the companion app that I was talking about. So this is where I could take a picture of math, I could have it OCR scanned. But if you don't have a touchscreen device, this is awesome, because what you can also do is use the touchscreen on your mobile device to write equations in as well. So that's a great thing. And you can also use speech to text as well within the mobile capabilities. So once we get into the demo, I'll show this. This is something that I think is probably going to be most used and the most beneficial tool in higher education, is our screenshot reader. So a student, teacher, faculty, whoever it may be, can basically just draw a box around any math, and it will do an OCR conversion, and it's basically looking for just math. And then you can copy it into our equation editor. You can copy the MathML and throw it into Word. So multiple different options there for that math conversion and making it accessible. It will also read it right when you convert it. Once you draw the box around it, it will read it out loud, and you can continually press play if I was a student and I needed it to be read aloud multiple times. All right, so right into the demo. Here's the equation editor, also known as prediction. I'm just going to show a couple different things within the prediction, and something that's typically usually kind of hard to do is writing a fraction. What we try to do is make it easy, so we provide multiple different ways a student could write a fraction. So if I did 3 and maybe I do over, and I press enter, it would automatically put it into a fraction, so I could just write 4. Maybe it was 3 out of, automatically put it into a fraction. I could do 3 backslash, and it would automatically put it into a fraction. I could even do 3 and just start typing it, and it will recognize 3/4. So You don't have to know one single way to write a fraction. If someone learns differently and has learned it, I say 3 out of 4. We want to make it so they can write 3 out of 4, 3 over 4, 3, 4, whatever it may be, and put it into the equation. Easy, simple way for them to do that. So once this is accessible, or once I put this in there, I can press Insert Math. It will go right into my document for me, as you can see here. And if I press right here, it'll just kind of collapse that menu. And when I click on it and press play,
3/4.
you could see it read it out loud correctly. Now, you can also see if I right click on this and go to the alt text, right here is what it says out loud, 3/4. Now, if I was a student, I could also just take this and press edit and it will go right back into my equation editor. Right there. All right, so I'm going to press the trash bin. Toggle this down for a second. X out of this. And delete this. Okay, so another thing I can do is I could do something like the quadratic formula that always gave me trouble when I was a student. I always copied it down wrong or whatever it may be. So if I just type QU, you're going to see quadratic formula populate right here. So something that might be super difficult, even just or time consuming just to write out, I could simply type QU, click on it, or press enter, and it automatically populates it right there. Now, what I could also do is I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, like so. So something I could do if I was a student, if I press Shift Enter, what it will do is it will just go to a new line for me so I can continually work throughout that. But I could also do Control Shift Enter, and it will copy the equation down for me. So now I can write in this. So if I wanted B to be, I don't know, 2. So I'll go over here, change B to 2. And maybe A was 4. And maybe C was 3. So now that I have this, I could go down, and if I wanted to do Control Shift Enter, I could do this and just continually work throughout this. So I can change this to a 4 and keep working throughout that. So once I'm ready and I'm done, I could insert this math into the document. You see how I have 3 lines there. It's going to insert as one image for me. And I'll just toggle this down real quick so you can see the math. It is right here. I'm going to press the play button just so you can hear it read out loud.
3 lines. Line 1. X equals the fraction.
So you can see that read aloud, and you can also see if I click here on the image, I can see the alt text. Right here. And we also have other options for the prediction. So I'm doing more simpler math equations just because that is my level of math. I'm not a math teacher, or I didn't study math, so I'm doing more simplified ones. But if you want to, you could also do integrals. So if I start typing integral, you have the indefinite integrals. We also have chemistry prediction. So I believe, let's just type in oxygen. It's one chemical compound. So this one shows up. So if you have students that are in organic chemistry or chemistry or whatever it may be, this might be super helpful for them as well. Now, this is also super helpful for teachers because you can also create these tests and make it completely accessible for those students as well. So it kind of goes both ways. It's great for both students and teachers or faculty. Now, if I just type in the quadratic formula again one more time and just show you the LaTeX. So this is Over here is the quadratic formula. If you want to write it in LaTeX, this is what it would have to look like. So it's almost like its own coding language, not super easy. If you already know how to do it, great. If you don't and you want to learn, this is a great way to learn. So if I just type in squared, you can see that it's just going to continually build on the left side. So over here, it did the squared, the caret with the square 2. So you can continually build on this. If I want to make this a fraction, I think I can do this. So if I highlight everything, press the slash key, it will automatically put everything into a fraction. So you don't have to learn how to use this. This is something that I believe is mostly for like math professors might like to use it or know how to use it, I should say. And then I think students who are studying mathematics and need to write their dissertation need to put it in LaTeX as well. So if this might be helpful for those students that need LaTeX, but you don't have to learn how to use it. This is very complicated, not easy to learn. So our next one is the handwriting recognition. Handwriting recognition is awesome. If you have a touchscreen device, this is great. You can also use your mouse or trackpad. But I'm going to do like x squared plus 4x cubed. And let's say I messed up on the cubed part. I didn't want cubed. Maybe I wanted, I can just scribble it out like that and write it 2. So if I wanted it squared, but let's say I wanted it to the 4th, I simply just scribble it out with my finger. It will erase it and I can correct it. You can also use these undo buttons right here. And then I can also continuously work throughout this. If I want to make that into square root, and maybe I want to make this into a fraction. So you can continually work throughout that with the handwriting recognition. And I'm just going to delete that real quick and jump right over to the speech input. So in the speech input, if I click on it, I could do x squared plus 4x plus 4. And what I did with my speech, it automatically recognizes it over here so I can type it in. Now, what we try to do is we try to render out all the non-math terms. So if I kept talking here, it might put in some math, but it's going to try to take out most of the math. So you can see it did the I and 2 because 2 is recognized as a number. But it got most of the math for me. Now, let me pause right here, go into my graph editor. So this is what is powered by Desmos. And when I click on this graph editor right here, you're going to see that it's like an online graphing calculator. What's awesome about this is, let's just do x squared. So Desmos is an online graphing calculator. What we did was we basically put our prediction in there. And if I do x squared, you're going to see that it automatically puts that line. If I wanted to add a slider for the variable x, I can play this. And if I was a teacher, I could be like, okay, so what happens when the variable goes to negative? And they can play this. Oh, so I can see that it went down. Maybe just move it up a little bit. So once I'm done with this, you can also graph points as well. But once I go into this and insert the graph, you're going to see it's going to insert right into my document right here. So if a teacher created this and asked what the x-axis was when y equals 2 or whatnot, student can go in here and go to edit math and then see this graph live and edit the math they would like or add a point to it, etc. So this is awesome as far as like a online calculator. I can also, if I X out of these, in this plus box right here, I could also put into tables. So if I wanted like 1, 2, and maybe it was 2, 4, 6, 8. You're going to see the plots that are pointed right here. So you could ask a student, what's the next plot going to be, or what's the next graph going to be, or whatever it may be. So this is an awesome tool, and I think you can go to, there's a spot, I believe it's like learndesmos.com or something like that. Desmos.com, DESMOS.com is the online graphing calculator, and they have a bunch of different resources. There's also a lot of different accessibility features in Desmos as well, which I'll jump over and show you real quick. And show this quick video.
The position of the cursor to guide. X 0.4. Extra at X, pi, Y, -1. And finally, press H to trace automatically. It's worth lingering here.
So that's just a demo of accessibility features within Desmos and also within ours. Because it's powered by Desmos, also works in ours as well. And Desmos has done a lot of great stuff with accessibility recently. So something to take a look at. It's actually learn.desmos.com. And the accessibility features you can do /accessibility. All right, so getting back into the demo, let me bring up my Word document again. And I'll delete this. All right, so what's next is our mobile capabilities. So I'm going to go delete this really quick. And I'm just going to write a simple equation on my notebook right here. So let's do x squared plus 4x plus 4. So when I click on this mobile capability, it's going to give you a QR code. So if you have an iPhone, what you want to do is you can use your camera. It's super easy. And when you put your camera over it, it would automatically go to that QR code for you. It will open up a link. If you're using an Android device, you would want to use the Google Chrome for Android devices. So let me just show you what this looks like on my phone, what I'm seeing on my phone. And it's basically just a website. So if I toggle this down real quick, it's m.equate.io. So you can see I have, what we do is we look for anywhere you have Equatio open, any active documents that you have Equatio open. So you can see I have this document open right here. And I'm just going to close this really quick. Should have done that. All right, so you see there, and then you'll see on here my Microsoft Word document. And just because my toolbar is in the way, but what I have down here is I have handwriting recognition, I have speech to text, and then I also have the ability to take a picture. So I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to open up this document just so you can see me insert it into the document. Allow. And I'm going to save it as an image and input it right into the document. So you're going to see it populate right there. Now I'm going to take that same image and instead of saving it as an image, I'm going to save it as math. So bear with me 1 second. And I'm going to enter it as the math, and you can see it populate right here. So something that I wrote on a notebook, I simply just took a picture of it, I saved it as math, and now this is accessible and it can be read with read and write out loud. This image cannot, because it's simply an image. You could use a screenshot reader and read it out loud, but this is the better way in saving it as math. It's a lot neater, it's not a big picture, and it's right there accessible for you. So what I could also do, and I can do speech to text, but I'm going to show you the handwriting recognition that I can do on my phone. So if I just did, let's say, the square root of 4, I'm going to insert this right into the document. So that's my handwriting with my phone. But I could also take that square root of 4 and I can save it as math and I can put it right into the document. So you don't have to have the touchscreen computer. You can use your phone as well. The computer obviously will give you a little bit more room to work with your finger. So you probably would want to do a little bit shorter examples or do it insert them one at a time. But it does provide you a way to do the handwriting recognition, and you can also render that as math as well. All right, so for the last tool I'm going to show is our screenshot reader, which is probably the coolest tool. In my opinion, is one of the coolest tools that we on Equatio is right here. So I have a college level math. I believe it says I just did a college level math Google search. And what I can do here is click on the screenshot reader option right here, and you can see how the crosshair is kind of open. And when I drag my mouse around these, what this is going to do is it's going to go through an OCR process and read it out loud.
Lines. Line 1, the fraction with the numerator 4 times open paren 3 squared close paren
I'm going to stop that real quick. But you can see how the screenshot reader captured all of that math from an image. And then I can then go into here and I can edit in Equatio. And it'll put it right into my Equatio toolbar right here. So what I can then do, if I wanted to, I'm going to put this down a little bit. And I'm going to delete this, delete this, delete this. Is there anything else I got in there? Nope. So I'm going to insert this right into the document, and you're going to see something that I just found on the website. I completely just took it, screen grabbed it, and it's completely editable. And now this is actually completely accessible. So another option you could do, if I go back to this website, and I'm going to collapse this really quick, but instead of that, you could also do, I wonder if you can grab all of this. And
4 line.
So what I can do is I can click on these more options. I could copy the LaTeX, and I could copy that MathML. And this is something that we added that's super important for those screen readers like JAWS or NDVA. And you can copy that MathML and you can paste it right into Word, and it will look like a Word equation, but you can open it with MathML if you would like. You can also copy the spoken text, editing equation, or you could just simply save it as an image. So you have all those options right there for you. They can use with that screenshot reader. And what I'll quickly do is show you our equatio.texthelp.com. So what this basically is a digital whiteboard. I know I'm kind of running out of time. So new space. You can see here, I'm just going to hide that real quick. In here is a digital whiteboard. So if I go in the freehand drawing, you could freehand draw with your hand. I could also go into my smart shapes, and if I want to do like a fraction bar, if I click on it, you have the number of segments. So if I wanted less, I could do this. And if I want less shaded, I could go into 2. Or if I wanted all of them shaded, whatever it may be. So smart shapes meaning that you can change them. We have a compass, a polygon, protractor right here. You can change these right there. You can also have this read aloud.
Reddish pink fraction bar with black border. Black border protractor.
And then we also have all these shapes down here. So if you have, we have some elementary shapes like coins, tanagrams, nets. Then we have also a lot of nets that would, or nets, a lot of tools that could help with science, chemistry, cylinders, wheels, gears, all sorts of stuff. Parallel with transversal lines. And this is something that you can download as an image. You can throw it into the document if you would like, or you can just grab a link of it if I wanted to share and make a copy for each student, or just make a copy for each student. I could take that link, copy this, throw it into the document if I wanted to. And then a student could simply copy this. See if that works. Control C. Having trouble with my right and left click. So Control V. There we go. And when I click on it, we'll go right to what I created. So maybe a student wanted to respond, and that's the student's response, or a professor wanted to create a problem, provide it to a student. They could just give them that link. They could go right into here and solve the equation. Okay, so that is the math space. One more thing we can do is we can work within Google Docs. So if I open up here, so if any universities use is a Google domain, you could also use it right into Google Docs. Again, 3x squared. If I want to insert that math, inserts it right into the document for me. And you have all the same tools that you had in the other version as well. And then read and write can come along and read this out loud. I had trouble finding the purple plus piece. One more thing is we also put in that French alt text in here. So that's something that will be coming to the install base versions toolbar as well.
3x squared.
Alrighty, so let me click that right now. Got a couple minutes left, so let me just go over here, and I'll provide a bunch of documents for the demonstration as well. Here is our pricing structure for Equatio. You can see the top line is the student enrollment. So domain licenses of Equatio, the cost is $2,000 for 1 to 10,000 students. The cost would be $2,735. From 10 to 20,000 students, $4,920, and then 20,000 plus students, it's $6,145. And then you also, if you're an existing read and write user, you get a 25% discount. So that would be the price if you're an existing read and write user. We also have a YouTube page with all our tools right here. So if I go to Equatio, you can see our playlist. Just look out of here. Quick little videos, individual videos, and all the tools. We have on our website, going to texthelp.com. And going into Need Help training and resources. So something great about here is we have an online training portal, which is like quick little self-paced classes that you can go through to learn Equatio. Or you can also go to our training materials, which is great for read and write. You can see here, read and write. But also we have quick reference guides for our program. So I'll open this in a new tab. So that's our quick reference guide for Equatio for Windows and Mac. And just to show you really quickly, the training portal, if I want to go to the training portal, you can see this works for read and write and also Equatio, but you can look at the courses. You can get certified, and we have all these courses right here. We also have some already saved like training videos for Equatio as well. So great resource for trying to learn the program. And I'll send this link. I'll send the quick reference guide. I'll also send the YouTube link. And we also have our amazing tech support team right here. And it's actually not US support. It's actually support@texthelp.com. Here's their phone number as well. So Mike, Sean, and Greg. And we just added one person recently, Katie, who are great, and they're usually very, very responsive within that day. So lastly, we do have the support.texthelp.com, which is a site that has some quick queries and stuff. So maybe some common issues that might be going on that you can look at, and that will also help maybe if you wanted to solve it quickly and on your own. So great resources right there. Tech support's an awesome team. Again, my name is Matt Brown. My email is right here, matthewb@texthelp.com. And my phone number is right here as well. So any questions at all, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to help any way I can. Call me, email me, whatever it may be. I'll be in for the whole summer. So let me know. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join. And look forward to talking with you all soon. Thank you.